if you own a local service-based business, right, I'm sure you understand how important marketing is, right? Because if you don't market yourself, no one will understand who you are. Right, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 4 main strategies to market your business, as well as how you can stand out in a sea filled with competitors. Right? Now, why is marketing so important? Because no one understands who you are. Maybe you had a specific skill in a specific industry. For example, you were a med student and you know how to clean teeth, you know how to help people get better, whiter teeth, and you decided, okay, I want to start my own practice right now. Having that specific skill and business skills are completely 2 different ball games, right? Maybe you understand how to clean teeth, but you have to learn from the ground up how to market your business, how to close sales, how to account for your finances, budgeting, and everything. It's a whole different ball game, right? And I think marketing is generally the biggest and the best skill you could have as a business owner, because if you know how to make the business rain, you can always make money, right? If you know how to generate leads, close sales, generate attention, you can literally survive in any economy. Okay, so just a brief introduction to who I am and the brands that I've worked with. I'm Nathaniel. I'm trying to build up my own business called One Conversions. So I've worked with aesthetic clinics, mainly Ascar Clinic, Aesthetic Doctors Australia, Lapal Medispa, Device Consulting, Soma Lasers, ABM, and I generally handle all their social media marketing side of things. Because right now we are in a very digitalized world, right? And so social media is a very important part of our lives right now. If you think about it, a lot of people consume social media on average maybe 4 to 5 hours a day. So if you know how to stand out in that specific channel and you know how to generate attention, you can make money. Okay, so let's talk about the 4 main strategies to get clients, right? First one is organic, right? What is organic? Organic content is generally you're posting on social media, maybe you have blog posts, SEO, your website, all of the things that you don't have to pay the channels in order to get attention, right? Now, when it comes to organic content, a lot of people don't have a clear strategy as to what they're posting. They just post randomly without actually understanding what the consumer wants, right? When you're posting organic content, you need to understand you have to post it from the perspective of your consumer. Stop promoting yourself and start boosting your own ego, right? Maybe a lot of business owners, they like to boast about, oh, my treatments are the best, my products are the best, but everyone says the same thing. Everyone provides the same. For example, if you're in the aesthetic industry, right? Everyone provides the same before and after photos. Everyone posts how good their treatments are, how good their skincare products are, right? But you're not standing out by doing that. You need to stand out by providing so much value. You need to stand out by telling people, hey, this is what you need. This is how it helps your specific concern. So if you can post content from the perspective of the consumer, you already have a competitive advantage, because no one else is thinking of doing that. Everyone is just busy promoting themselves, right? Now, second would be paid ads. Now, paid ads is a really strong tool because you generally can just spend money and get money in return if you know how to do it, all right? But the thing with advertising is that the cost of advertising will only increase the longer you do it, because the more you advertise, the more you're reaching colder audiences, people that don't understand your brand, people that have no idea who you are. And so you really have to have strong systems in place to really capture the lead, as well as a way to convert that lead into an actual sale, because if not, you're just burning money at that point. Okay. Third is basically outreach. Now, outreach is one of the most interesting things when it comes to marketing, because it is essentially free. You don't have to pay for anything, and you can generally reach a certain demographic that already understands who you are and your brands, right? Now, when it comes to outreach, it will be email, SMS, just cold calls, all these things, right? So email marketing is literally free. You can literally make money from email marketing by not having to spend any money at all. That's only if you know how to do it, right? All the things that I'm mentioning right now could be a very powerful tool for you, only if you know how to utilize it fully, right? The fourth one will be referrals. Now, obviously, referrals is generally where most people get their businesses from, because maybe you delivered a good service and people just generally refer other people. But you can also create a system whereby you can generally get referrals on average. So you don't want it to be so inconsistent. You want it to be more systemized, having a way to get referrals. And I think that's, you have to figure out how to do that for your business. Now, when it comes to these four main strategies, right, it has to be a sort of like a flywheel. Okay, what I mean by that, maybe you're posting, look, this two goes hand in hand. Maybe you're running paid advertising, right? The reason you're running paid advertising is because people don't understand who you are, and so you're generally getting attention for free. Because maybe when you're posting organic content, your reach might not be as far, right? Your views are not as much. But when you're paying for advertising, you're generally already getting views, right? You're paying for attention, basically. Now, how do you translate that attention into an actual appointment, for example, right? That's where the organic place comes into part. Because organic content, I view social media as a nurturing process. Your social media is basically a nurturing page for your leads, right? When you're running ads, you're reaching cold audiences, people that don't know your brand. So they're generally gonna tap into your profile, they're gonna view your profile and see what you're all about. That's where your content really has to stand out, right? You have to position yourself as the authority figure. You can't just promote your stuff, your treatments, stuff like that. So these two really works hand in hand, because if you're running ads, you're getting views, you're gonna funnel them to your organic content, your social media page whereby they view your stuff, all right? And then you maybe have like a booking link whereby people can book into your appointments if they think you're qualified, right? The same goes with Google Ads, right? Maybe you're running Google Ads, you can send them, like Google Ads is generally a bit different because like the intentions is already there, so like you might be able to convert them easier, but the cost of advertising in Google will be way expensive, and it's really hard to stand out also because like when you look at Google, right, there's only a few top spots when you search up like maybe aesthetic services in your local industry, right? So I think like social media is still generally the best way to get clients, because you can generally just pay, get attention, funnel that attention into an actual appointment if you know how to do it, all right? Now, when it comes to outreach as well, emails, right? When people are doing their email marketing, that's the concept that a lot of people have, is that they just want to promote themselves, or like they think that people don't actually view their emails. But I can tell you this, right? On average, around like 96% of people actually open up their emails multiple times a day. Right? Don't quote me on this, but like I actually saw the statistic a while ago. But you have to figure out how to run your email campaigns, because it's not just about promoting yourself again. Alright? You have to structure it in a way that captures people's attention. You have to provide more value to them before you can ask for something in return. Okay? Because I can tell you this, the moment you start selling, the moment you start promoting yourself, they've already put their guard up. They've already viewed you as a salesperson. They know this person is going to try and sell me something, and I'm going to be a bit on the defense right now because I'm not interested in what they have to sell, right? And so then for you to sell to them, the barrier to selling becomes way higher, right? So you want to actually understand when to present your offer at the right time, because if you present your offer too early, they're going to have their guard up and you're not going to be able to close the sale. Okay, referrals, all right? How can you consistently get referrals, right? First of all, obviously your service has to be good, okay? And then what you can do as well is have them leave a Google review, and then later on, you can generally just ask them, hey, what do you think of our services? Do you think they were good? Do you think they provided the results that you're looking for? Kind of understand what their expectations were, where they are in terms of your service, and whether or not they're gonna actually rebook with you, all right? Then you can just ask them, hey, you know of like 2 to 3 people that are kind of interested in achieving the same results as you are? So you have to kind of ask it in a curiosity tone, right? Because you don't want to, your tonality is very important, but we're getting a bit sidetracked anyways. Referrals is very important, but basically the whole flywheel works like this, alright? If you run ads, you're gonna funnel them to organic, alright? And if you manage to get a sale, you want to get referrals, right? So you have to kind of figure out how to create this loop whereby you can consistently spend money and get clients and more clients in return. You want to get them to book with you, you want to get to buy with you, and then you want to get them to refer you more people. That's how your business grows, right? Because like you have to understand cash flow is king. And I think a very powerful mantra that every salesperson or just business owners in general have to have is that every person that comes in has to buy something. They have to buy something, All right, if you can if you can really train your employees on like telling them that, hey, every person that comes in, they have to buy something, you can generally succeed in your business. Okay. Now let's talk about how you can kind of stand out in a sea filled with competitors, right? Because like if you're running a local service-based business, it's very hard for you to stand out because like the radius around your business is so small, and there's a lot of businesses in the similar industry as well in the same region as you are, and there's only so much people in that specific region, right? So how do you stand out? I can tell you this, right? Like I mentioned before, cost of advertising will only increase as you advertise, right? So you really have to have systems dialed down, because the more systems you have dialed down, the more you can afford to outspend your competitors, right? For example, let me explain. Let's say you're spending $5 and you're getting one lead, okay? But you don't have a sales process to kind of close the lead. You generally, as a business owner, will fumble, all right? But if let's say another business is spending $10, but they're actually closing the lead. So like their cost of advertising, they can afford to spend way more than you because they know that they have systems in place to kind of close the sale. All right, so you have to figure out your sales processes. That's the most important thing, right? And then your nurturing process. How do you get them to come into the clinic, right? My thought process is that this, right? Before you even start advertising, before you even start any marketing of some sort, right? You have to nail down your sales processes as well as your nurturing process, because if not, you're gonna continuously burn money. I've worked with clinics, right, whereby maybe they are a solopreneur. They just transition from injecting themselves and then they wanted to start their own business. They don't have a specific employee to do nurturing. They don't have a specific sales process. They don't understand how to sell, right? And so if I come in and work with you, I can generate you leads, but then you're not gonna close the sale, and then you're gonna keep blaming like the lead quality is not good, all those sort of things, right? But essentially, you just have to have strong sales processes as well as nurturing processes, because if you have those dialed down, you can afford to outspend your competitors. And so then it becomes a game of like it becomes a game of like how much you're willing to spend. And you have to understand, right, when you're running paid ads, it should be affordable. What does that mean? All right, you have to calculate your LTV to CAC ratio, right? If you can figure this out and you can improve your LTV to CAC ratio, you can generally keep spending money and you keep making money. Because let's say you're spending $1,000 on ads a month and you're spending $1,000 on the services for someone to run the services for you, right? So you're spending 2K, right? But if it transitions to $10,000 worth of service, like treatments done, like wouldn't you consider that? Like wouldn't you just continue spending more money to get more clients? Right. So advertising is a very interesting strategy, because like you can generally just keep spending more money to get attention if you have a sales process and nurturing process down. So that's why this is really the most important part as to how you can stand out compared to your competitors. All right. Now the second thing is this. Right. Let's talk about market share. If you're in a specific industry, right, you don't have to capture the whole market share. Don't capture the whole market share. For example, right, maybe you run, obviously I'm gonna give a bit more like aesthetic industry because like I'm in that industry, but let's say you run a aesthetic clinic, alright? You might have a lot of services and you might tackle a lot of problems, right? But your services, your marketing has to be tailored towards a specific concern. What does that mean? You don't have to capture the whole market share. You just have to capture a slice of that market share, right? You just have to capture a small portion of the market share. For example, maybe if you're treating ladies, right, a woman, you don't have to capture the entire market of like women with jowl problems, with under eye concerns, with wrinkles. Maybe you can just really target a specific concern, and then when they come in, that's where the nurturing sales process comes in again. You can know how to nurture them and you can know how to upsell them into more things, alright? So it's your messaging that will generally lower your costs, and then it's your sales process and nurturing process that will allow you to stand out and continuously make money from your advertising costs. Alright, so your messaging has to be on point, right? Because if you're the more specific your messaging is, the lower your cost will be. Alright, and you can sell generally way higher. Because like if you think about it, if you run an aesthetic clinic and you say, I generally help ladies in their 20s to 40s avoid wrinkles and reduce their aging by specific method, compared to like we generally help women with aging. You know, if you can really niche down and like dial down to like the specifics of like what you're trying to sell, you can tailor the messaging specifically to your target audience, and that will help you lower your advertising costs. Your messaging will help you lower your advertising costs. Alright, and so just to wrap up everything, right? 4 main ways to get clients. Basically, you have to create a flywheel whereby you continuously spend and like you continuously get clients in return. Right? And then basically LTV to CAC ratio, go look it up if you don't understand what it is. Figure out how to generally have systems in place to generate attention, nurture the attention into an actual appointment. Because that's the whole point of marketing, right? And I'm telling people, like, before you even start marketing of any sort, figure out like who your target audience is. Your target audience, have sales processes in place, and then figure out how you can stand out in a very competition-filled industry, right? But yeah, that's basically it. Pick one channel to start with, figure out how you can dial down on your processes, your messaging, and just generally start closing more. But hope this helps.